I want to talk to you about Bryan Shaw.
Okay.
Yesterday, I think 15 pitches, 8 strikes. Strike zone performance isn't there, but
Right.
you look at his history when he was good with Cleveland, and he was really bad in the Cactus League. How do you evaluate where he is considering the history there? I mean, do you need to see production numbers and everything else? Or what do
Well,
need to see
first of all, you want to see all players, all pitchers feeling good about their arm. Where their arm is. I mean, that's the number one thing. And Bryan feels good physically. And then as you move into spring, I think with all players, as you approach the middle part of spring, and then more importantly the last part of spring, you're hoping for it all coming together. Their stuff, their velocity, their mechanics. So there's end of spring training performance that you like to see. Both with pitchers and hitters, because I think there is a confidence that players have if they're in a good spot that last week of the season, going into the season. You feel good about it. But we all know those stories, right? Right? We've all been there 1,000 times where bad spring, good season, right? So it doesn't always equate. It's very similar to, a guy who during the regular season warms up great in the bullpen. Pitcher, hey, great stuff, throwing great, bad game. And vice versa. A guy warms up poorly in the bullpen and pitches a great game. So, because there is a difference between, an exhibition game and a regular season game. You can't always hold your hat on a guy flipping the switch, because there is a sense of confidence going into the season that you feel good, both in performance and health. So, as it relates to Bryan, and it's he feels good physically. I think he'll grow this spring into a stuff a little bit better. He hasn't been real sharp, right, in his couple outings, but that's why we keep running guys out there, and he'll get 8 or 9, 10 outings. I'm not sure what the pitching guys have in store for him, but there's still a number of outings left for him to fine tune his game.
When you go into the season, granted last year was a tough year, but do you just simply trust what the organization saw before they signed him, say, hey, he will get back to
there is a track record that you believe in, and that's obviously why we signed Bryan, because of his performance and obviously more importantly what we think he can do. So there is a factor there, but also you got to live in the present and what you're seeing. But as long as a talented player is healthy and physically there's nothing wrong, you can project performance.
Why do you mention it? Go ahead, Trace.
In line with what you're talking about, as the spring goes on, Hauser used to say the only time he really cares about what happens in a game in the spring is the last 2 weeks, the first 11 days of the last 2 weeks of the spring, when you made your cut down, when you're basically looking at big league guys, and then the last 3 days everybody's just trying to get out of there.
Yeah.
I mean,
There's something to that, yeah, because I think that once you get into from the starting pitchers, you want to make sure they get to their pitch count. You want to make sure that they're physically able to throw 100 pitches by the end of the year. Position player wise, you want to make sure that guys have hopefully anywhere from 40 to 70 at bats, depending on the player and how you're using them, and that their bat speed's there. They feel comfortable in the box. They're taking good swings. The last week is important up to the point. Those last couple games, guys are eyeing the finish line of spring training and the start of the season. So they can get a little bit distracted, to Dick's point, and they want to just end healthy and get ready to play.
like we have 3 getaways.
So we'll scale guys back there. That that Albuquerque trip and that Fort Myers thing is a little tricky. but we'll get through it, and hopefully our guys will be. I don't want to say hopefully they'll be ready to play. I know they'll be ready to play now. How we play. That's why we play. We'll find out.
Because I guess the other thing too is you are facing more big league players the whole game.
Yes.
As you get in there.
Yes. Yeah. Those last 10 games or so, guys are going 6, 7, 8 innings. The opposing starting pitchers, throwing 100 pitches. I mean, it's not like what's going on now, right? Where we're seeing 20 players. We're seeing guys out of the Cal League and Midwest League, and different guys are playing, which is great, man. You love that because we're able to put our eyes on Nevin and Welker and Boswell and a bunch of other fellas and some young pitchers, Bowden. So it's good stuff.
You mentioned about Bryan that he has not been particularly sharp this spring. I think that's fair to say.
Right.
If he was if he didn't have a veteran track record, would it be more concerning? The way you've seen him throw.
Him or just any player?
Him in particular.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, we critically, watch everything, and we're closely monitoring all our players about what we're seeing. But again, it goes back to, we'll look at previous spring training performances, previous spring training velocities, and we'll, assess everything that, we can assess.
Well, you mentioned those young guys in Nevin and Walker, and you got Lambert too, 21-year-olds. Is there been anything that kind of impressed you from those young guys?
I think more than anything, the confidence that those guys have, being in a big league clubhouse, how they're moving around, how they're interacting with guys. I think that is, not, probably not uncommon of the modern day young player. I think there's so much written about young players and so much build up that, they feel as though, they belong in the room, and, they enjoy rubbing shoulders with guys. And I think times have changed that way. I think their confidence and comfort level is in a spot that, I think is, for the most part, a good thing, right? Because they believe in themselves, but they're handling, how they handle things. Just our conversations, their answers back to us, our interaction is good stuff. And I think it's a product of player development. What's gone on the last couple of years as they've been minor leaguers. Down on the other side, the instruction that they've gotten from other coaches and leaders in our organization is, there's a lot of growth and development in the minor leagues prior to these guys getting here. So it's not surprising to me how young players are reacting to being in big league camp.
When you look at a guy like Rogers in his second big league camp, what kind of development are you seeing for him from last year to this year?
I'm seeing better at bats as far as just his pitch recognition, laying off breaking balls. Last year, if you recall, there was a little bit of expanding the strike zone, looking at swinging at breaking balls, being overly aggressive on pitches out of the zone. I've seen that curtailed a lot, which is a great thing. Just his conversation, his interaction with Trevor and Nolan and the guys on the infield, much more comfortable. Physically, I think that he's a year older, a year stronger. The durability factor has to come into play this year. It came into play last year, which was great. First couple of years out of high school, a high school player has to learn how to play a professional season. A high school schedule is way different than what we ask of them in pro ball. So, he's checking off a lot of boxes.
Do you see him being equal yet at all three of the positions in there? I know he's a shortstop.
He's a shortstop. He feels comfortable at shortstop. I think that the comfort level is growing at second and third. I wouldn't say they're all equal because I think that most of his reps in his life have been at shortstop, but he's getting more comfortable at second and third.
Hey, bud, I'm doing a different feature on pace of game, and I know
Okay.
the pitch clock is MLB keeps coming up with these different
Sure.
ways of tackling this.
Right.
Is it an issue? Is it a manufactured issue?
You know, I mean, for me, I think all of us would like to see a quicker pace game. I don't know what that means, whether that means a half hour, 15 minutes off a 3-hour game. I'm not sure. The pitch clock, for me, I think will never be a factor with the pitcher. I think it will probably impact the hitter more. His ability to get in the box and get comfortable and get ready to go. The pitcher won't be a problem. But I think generally speaking, I think being creative and being aggressive on pace of the game is a good thing. There's obviously there's a natural break in there in between innings that commercials and advertising creates a lot of revenue that it's a natural break. But there's some things that we can continue to discuss, I think, that can speed guys up. And I think players now coming through the minors, they're sort of they're learning how to play the game faster. So on balance, I think it's great. I'm all in.
What are your impression on what you saw in the back dock this morning?
Well, RD, to be totally honest, I was surprised that some of the air balls I saw from professional athletes, and they'll be the first to attest that they were a little nervous. Get out there in front of the group, and that body tightens up a little bit, and that stroke sort of shortens. I was surprised by that. On the positive note, Jeff Hoffman was impressive. He was under control and calm and maintained his good stroke. So I'm looking forward to tomorrow's action as well to see how those guys do. But I would have guessed there would have been better performances overall by those 8 guys.
Who needs to work on their jump shot?
Well, I mean, Pierpont had a tough day.
There's a reason they're all baseball players.
Yeah.
Buddy, how many rounds does this go?
This will be. We just had 4 teams. There'll be a semifinals and a final, and there might be a grudge match or a challenge match in there too.
No,
Some coaches are trying to maybe get a team together to take on the champs in
Okay.
a challenge match or something.
In the 70s short shorts?
I don't know, how was that?
That was something.
That was something, right? I like that's impressive. I like the guys are having some fun with it. All right, guys, thanks.
Thank you.
All right.